Ever get that instant click with someone? You know, like you're totally on the same wavelength, but then other people, it's like, you just don't vibe. Well, today we're doing a deep dive into the science behind why we're drawn to certain people. And get this, it might be a lot more personal than you think.
It's kind of crazy how fast we form these impressions of people, right?
It really is. And the source for today's deep dive is this fascinating article from The Brink. It's Boston University's research news site.
Oh, cool.
And they're highlighting some pretty interesting new research that, well, honestly, it might just make you rethink how you judge people, especially when you first meet them.
That's what I love about this kind of stuff, you
Yeah.
know? It really makes you think.
Exactly.
And we all know that whole, like, birds of a feather flock together thing, right?
Yeah.
But this research, it kind of digs a little deeper and asks, like, are we flocking together too quickly? Like, maybe based on not enough information?
Ooh, I like that. Flocking too quickly. That's good. So let's start with the basics. What we already kind of know about this whole attraction thing, and that is the similarity attraction effect.
Okay, I've heard of that.
Yeah. So basically, it just means that we tend to like people who are like us.
Makes sense.
Right. Imagine you're at a party, you meet someone, and bam, you find out they love the same, like, totally obscure band that you do.
Yeah, or they just get your sense of humor.
Yeah.
Like, even your weird jokes, they're laughing.
Yes.
It's like finding a kindred spirit.
It is. And it can feel almost like fate, right? Like, oh my gosh, you both love that one snack that literally everybody else hates.
Right.
Or you have the same, like, super guilty pleasure TV show.
Oh, totally.
So, yeah, those kinds of shared interests, they can make us feel like we've found our people.
For sure.
Yeah.
Like, we belong.
Exactly. But here's the thing. This new research, it's suggesting that, well, sometimes that feeling might actually be fooling us. Yeah. So we're about to meet this researcher, Charles Chu. He's an assistant professor at BU's Questrom School of Business. And his work, well, it kind of suggests that we might be taking this whole, like, attracts-like thing a little bit too far.
Okay, so how so?
So he uses this term self-essentialist reasoning.
Self-essentialist.
Yeah, it sounds super complicated.
It does.
But it's really not. Just imagine it like this. Okay, you think your love for, let's say, spicy food, right, comes from some, like, core essence of who you are.
Like, it's not just that I like hot sauce, it's that I'm a spicy person.
Exactly. You're a bold, adventurous person deep down. It's in your essence. But here's where it gets interesting. We assume other people work the same way.
Oh, okay.
So you meet someone else who loves spicy food, and bam, suddenly, in your mind, they're also bold and adventurous.
Even if you literally know nothing else about them.
Yeah, pretty much. It's
Wow.
like that whole vibe check. We all do, right? But maybe we're only checking for, like, one tiny matching vibe, and then we're just assuming the whole song is the same.
I see.
And the crazy thing is, Chu's research actually found that even just one, like, tiny shared interest can trigger this essence assumption. Like, we jump to thinking that someone's entire worldview aligns with ours just because they...
They like the same band.
Exactly.
Wow, that's a lot of pressure to put on the Beatles.
Right.
And it makes you wonder, like, if it's all just a coincidence. Or...
I know, right? Like, is it fate, or are we just, like, tricking ourselves?
Yeah.
Well, in the article, there's this great quote from Chu. He says, if we had to come up with an image of our sense of self, it would be this nugget, an almost magical core inside that emanates out and causes what we can see and observe about people and ourselves. So basically, like, we're mistaking this one little shared nugget for, like, the whole treasure chest of who a person really is.
That's a good way to put it.
And you know what? That's where things start to get a little bit problematic.
Okay, how so?
So Chu did 4 studies, like, really wanted to put this whole essence thing to the test. And in the first one, he did something kind of intense. He presented people with this fictional person, like, named Jamie.
Okay.
And Jamie either completely matched or completely opposed their views on, like, really hot button topics, things like abortion, gun control.
Whoa, yeah.
Yeah, stuff that people get really, really fired up about.
For sure.
So, like, did people with these strong essence beliefs, did they instantly, like, love or hate Jamie just based on that agreement or disagreement?
That is a great question.
Yeah, so what did he find?
Spill the tea.
Okay, so get this. The people who really, really believed that our likes and dislikes come from this, like, deep inner essence, they actually felt way closer to matching Jamie. The one who agreed with them on all the hot button stuff.
So basically, yeah, they were totally judging Jamie based on those few opinions.
Yeah. But couldn't that just be, Like, because those issues are so important to people. Like, maybe they weren't really judging Jamie as, like, a whole person, maybe just on those specific views.
That's a good point.
Right.
Yeah, maybe. But you thought of that too.
Oh, he did.
Yeah, so in his next study, he designed it to, like, totally take that factor out of the equation.
What do you mean?
Okay, so he had people do something completely meaningless, like the most boring task ever,
Mm.
estimating how many blue dots were on a page.
Okay.
So, like, who cares?
Exactly. It's like the most boring similarity ever. But guess what?
One.
The effect was still there. Like, the people who really believed in this essence idea, they still felt closer to the Jamie who guessed the same number of dots.
Even though it meant absolutely nothing about their personality or values or anything important?
Nothing.
Wow. So even when there's no logical reason to think that a shared opinion actually reveals anything deep about a person, we still jump to that conclusion.
It seems like it.
So weird. It's like this bias is happening on, like, a gut level,
Yeah.
like deeper than our conscious thoughts.
Yeah.
And it's affecting how we judge people before we even really know them.
That is kind of scary.
It is.
Okay, so now we've got this essence thing, like a little alarm bell going off in our heads every time we meet someone new.
Right.
But how do we actually, use it feels kind of overwhelming to think I have to, question every connection I feel.
Oh, no, no, no. It's not about overthinking it. Just
Okay.
think of it as a little reminder,
Yeah.
Like, to check yourself when you feel that strong pull. Either way, could be like instant best friend vibes, or it could be the opposite.
Yeah, I get it. Like, if I meet someone who loves, I don't know, the same, totally obscure 80s movie as me,
Right.
instead of instantly being like, well, we're soulmates, I should, pump the brakes a little.
Exactly. Just take a minute, ask yourself, is it my essence bias making me jump to conclusions here?
Yeah.
Am I, like, filling in all these blanks about this person without even knowing them?
Okay.
It's about being a little more curious, open to, like, actually discovering who they are beyond that one shared interest.
So those shared interests are more like conversation starters, not instant conclusions.
Exactly.
Okay.
They're clues. They can be valuable, but they're only, like, the tip of the iceberg.
Right.
The good stuff, the real connection, comes from going deeper, seeing what's under the surface.
Did Chu's research look at that at all? Like, can we actually, break out of this box-making habit?
Oh, yeah, that's where things get really hopeful, actually. In his last two studies, studies 3 and 4, he tried to, like, disrupt this essence thinking, see if people could learn to, judge others more accurately, even when they felt that initial click.
Interesting. Okay, so how do you even, rewire someone's brain to not do that, to not make those instant judgments?
Well, in one experiment, he pointed out certain traits as being either, like, essential or non-essential. Like, maybe enjoying a certain type of painting, that's not essential. But having, strong morals, that's an essential trait.
Oh, I see. So it's like highlighting what really matters about a person and not getting, too hung up on those, surface level similarities.
Exactly. And then in another one, he straight up told people, like, hey, this essence assumption, it can lead you to be totally wrong about people.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, imagine that, like a warning label on your brain, Caution. Essence bias may lead to faulty judgments.
That's a good one. But did it work? Like, did people actually listen to those warnings?
They did. When people were reminded that, hey, this essence shortcut could be misleading, they were less likely to make those snap judgments. Just based on, liking the same band or whatever.
So it is possible to, override this bias.
It is, but it takes effort.
Yeah, you got to remember that everyone's more than just their favorite band or, how many blue dots they see on a page.
Exactly. And that's what makes this whole thing so interesting, Because this essence bias, it's like a lot of these mental shortcuts we have. It's got a good side and a bad side.
Okay, so let's start with the good. There's got to be some reason why we evolved to think this way, right?
Right. Think about it. This essence shortcut, it helps us find our tribe, our people.
Yeah.
We see someone with a similar interest. It's like a signal flare. Like, hey, you might be like me.
Right.
Leads to faster connections. That feeling of belonging.
It's like when you're traveling, Like you're in some foreign country and you see someone wearing a shirt from your hometown, instant connection.
Exactly. That could be such a powerful, positive thing. It helps us build communities, form relationships.
Uh-oh, there's the but. What's the downside?
Well, as we've been saying, that same shortcut can also lead to, snap
Yeah.
judgments exclusions, we might miss out on really amazing people just because they don't fit our idea of what someone like us should be like.
It's like we're closing ourselves off to a whole world of possibilities just because we're so focused on finding people who fit into our little pre-labeled boxes.
Yeah. And what's really fascinating is that Chu's research, it focused on negotiations, but this essence bias, it can
Yeah.
show up everywhere. All kinds of relationships, friendships, romantic relationships, even at work.
So it's not just about who we do business with, it's about who we let into our lives, period.
Exactly.
And we could be missing out on so much just because we're letting this one little bias, call the shots.
It's pretty powerful stuff.
It really makes you wonder how many potential connections we've totally missed out on just because we let this essence bias run the show.
It's definitely something to think about, right? I mean, the good news is just by being aware of it, we can start to change things.
Okay, so how do we actually do that? Should I just start interrogating everyone I meet? Wait, you like the Beatles? Prove it. What's your favorite deep cut?
No, no, no. It doesn't have to be that intense. Think of it more like, a gentle nudge. Just notice when you're feeling that really strong pull towards someone, or even a repulsion, based on just a little bit of information.
Okay, yeah.
So yeah, you meet someone who loves that same 80s movie you do. Instead of instantly being like, soulmate, you pause.
Yeah.
Ask yourself, hold on. Is my essence bias kicking in here? Am I making up a whole story about this person in my head already? Got it.
So those shared interests, they're more like conversation starters than, the final chapter.
Exactly. They're an invitation to learn more.
Yeah.
Instead of just assuming you know the whole story already.
This has honestly been mind-blowing. It's a whole new way of looking at how we connect with people.
And that's the really cool part, right? By understanding this bias, we open ourselves up to a lot more possibilities. We can start to see people as individuals, not just these projections of our own, values and beliefs.
Instead of that quick vibe check, it's we're going deeper,
Right.
really getting to know the music, not just judging the whole song by the first few notes.
I like that. So yeah, to our listener out there, next time you meet someone new, remember what we talked about today. Don't let that one shared interest, or even one difference for that matter, be the deciding factor.
Yeah.
Dig a little deeper. Ask some questions. Be open to being surprised. You never know what amazing connections are out there waiting to be discovered.
This has been an awesome deep dive into the science of attraction, and honestly, maybe a little bit of a deep dive into ourselves, too. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you on the next episode where who knows what we'll unpack next. Stay curious.